By the way, Mr. Kahn's former company was included in some of the WikiLeaks documents that were dumped a couple of days ago, establishing again a further connection to the Clintons. But by the way, this is Quinn in the Morning, America's morning show from the War Room. Got to identify this or people won't, passing by won't know who it is. And you can subscribe to the show at warroom.com if you're planning on leaving the area where you're listening on the radio to go on vacation, or if you just want to be able to get the archives later on in the day to play back and torture your friends. You can do that. Just go to warroom.com. It's a lousy $4.99 a month. Come on. Fork over. $4.99 a month. I'm going to cost you a lot less than Hillary. Okay, in 1983, Mr. Kahn, the moderate Muslim Gold Star father, who didn't do anything except viciously attack Donald Trump and call what he wanted to do unconstitutional when there was absolutely no truth to that, while waving a constitution around that he has absolutely no intention of preserving because he's a Sharia-compliant Muslim. In 1983, he wrote a glowing review of a book compiled from a seminar held in Kuwait. The book was called Human Rights in Islam, talk about an oxymoron, in which he singles out praise for the keynote address of a fellow Pakistani by the name of Allah K. Brohi, spelled B-R-O-H-I. Now, this guy is a pro-jihad Islamic jurist who was one of the closest advisors to the late Pakistani dictator, the father of the Taliban movement. Kahn speaks admiringly of Brohi's interpretation of human rights, even though it included the right to kill and mutilate those who violate Islamic law, and even the right of men to beat their wives who act, quote-unquote, unseemly. So it appears that the silence of Mrs. Kahn and her hijab, standing next to her husband, it looks to me like Trump was right when he said, maybe she's not allowed to talk. You know what? He was right. As Pakistani Minister of Law and Religious Affairs, Mr. Brohi helped to create hundreds of jihadi incubators called madrasas and restored Sharia punishments such as amputations for theft and demands that rape victims produce 4 male witnesses or face adultery charges themselves. That means you can rape any woman you want to. She's never going to risk being charged with adultery because you're never going to find 5 male or 4 male witnesses. He also made insulting the Muslim prophet Muhammad a crime punishable by death. Joe, do you mean the pedophile prophet? Is that the one you're talking about? To speed the Islamization of Pakistan, he and Zia issued a law that required judges to consult mullahs on every judicial decision for Sharia compliance. Khan, who says he immigrated to the U.S. in 1980 to escape Pakistan's military rule, nonetheless spoke admiringly of Brohi in his review of his speech. He praised the remarks, even though Brohi advocated for the enforcement of medieval Sharia punishments known as hudud, and that were later adapted and carried out with brutal efficiency by the Taliban in neighboring Afghanistan. Divinely ordained punishments have to be inflicted, Brohi asserted, and there is very little option for the judge called upon to impose halad, or whatever it's called. Anyway, the bottom line here is this guy is no moderate. He's pushing Sharia law in America, and he's a lawyer. Now, folks, all over the country, there are lawyers and representatives of the Muslim community making the case that Sharia law needs to be implemented for Muslim enclaves, that it would be a violation of their religious rights not to do so. This case is being made all over the place, and it's being made not only by clerics, it's being made by lawyers. And Mr. Kahn is a lawyer, and it looks to me like he's one of them. He is definitely pro-Sharia. So don't tell me about how much you love the Constitution, Mr. Kahn. You are a phony. You're a phony.
But you can't say that to a Gold Star front.
Hey, nobody's saying anything about his sacrifice or his kids, all right? Sorry, I don't accept the idea that he's above criticism. Screw that. Now, let's really get into this one. So, This guy's taken down his website. Why? Because it shows that he was pushing these HB5 visas. Now, you've heard about these before. The HB5 visa is where you can take as many people as you can get from places like the Middle East and China, people who have backgrounds that may actually eliminate them from being able to immigrate to this country. The EB5 program allows those people to buy their way in. That's right, $500,000, and you have to donate the $500,000 to certain, the operative word there is certain industries. Well, you know what that means, right? Certain industries means green companies. Yes, like Solyndra. Oh, sorry, they're out of business. Bright Source Energy. Sorry, they collapsed too. 123 Systems. That one's. Anyway, there's got to be some solar project that hasn't gone Chapter 11 belly up out there yet. So you donate $500,000 to a green company, and you can buy your way into the United States. Now, Kahn specialized in bringing these people from the Middle East, but they also come from other places as well. Now, you may remember Terry McAuliffe, because this has been going on for a long time. And, of course, because he's so close to the Clintons, he's probably immune from prosecutions, too. But let me refresh your memory about the EB5 and the way this worked, okay? Here's the scam. Now, when I told you earlier that the EB5 was one of the most corrupt and one of the most abused of all the visa systems, here's an example as to why. Remember, Mr. Kahn was up to his hips in it, so much so that he's now embarrassed by what he did and took down his website. Alejandro Mayorkas. Remember that name, Alejandro Mayorkas. Who is he? Number 2 guy at Homeland Security. Okay, so Terry McAuliffe and Tony Rodham, Hillary Rodham Clinton's brother, okay? So Gulf Coast Funds Management is the name of Tony Rodham's company. See, Gulf Coast Funds Management, run by Tony Rodham. See, so there's a Chinese guy who's got very questionable background here. He's a former member of the Communist Party and was involved in the government in China. Anyway, he's a rich Chinese guy. He wants to come to this country. His request to come here has already been denied. But he's got a wallet with $500,000 in it, and Terry McAuliffe is trying to figure out a way to get it. All right? So, and by the way, this happened more than once. So what they do is Tony Rodham goes to Alejandro Mayorkas, and apparently somewhere along the line, Mayorkas has been either told to or bribed or manipulated or somehow. So Mayorkas now is ready to help. He's going to help get this guy into the country on behalf of Tony Rodham and Gulf Coast Funds Management. The question is, where is he going to put that $500,000 when he buys his way into the country? Enter Terry McAuliffe. Terry McAuliffe starts a company called Green Tech Auto. Now, it's a little bit complicated. Green Tech is now owned partially by some of the same people that own part of Fisker, but I'm not really sure exactly how this all goes down. But the bottom line is there's no Green Tech Auto, and there's no Green Tech Autos. Now, I'm not really sure who actually built the cars that are in the factory down there, but we told you, a couple of years ago, there was a huge story about how it started out in Virginia, and he moved the plant to Mississippi, apparently just to get it away from the prying eyes. But the plant had to be made because they had to have something that looked like what they were donating. What was the $500,000 for? Well, it went to Green Tech Auto. What is Green Tech Auto? It's Terry McAuliffe's wallet, and probably Tony Rodham's too. So this is this corrupt EB5 visa thing, and of course the Green Tech Auto plant had some kind of automobiles in it, all electric automobiles. Don't know who built them. They might have been Chinese for all I know, because there is a Chinese company. But anyway, so they got a bunch of these cars in this factory. And what they do is when the media shows up, because there's really no activity going on at the factory. When the media shows up, then the employees, and this is, by the way, this came from the employees. What they have to do is they have to run outside, get in a couple of these cars and start driving them around like there's all kinds of activity going on. And on the inside, what they do is they put the cars together and then they take them apart so they can put them together again in case the press shows up or some politician. So in the meantime, since they're not really producing cars, and since there is no such thing as a green tech car dealership, I've never seen one, have you? The question is, where did the $500,000 go that the questionable Chinese guy who had already been turned down for immigration or emigration from China to here, and the skids were greased by Alejandro Mayorkas at Homeland Security, where did the money go? Did Tony Rodham get it? Did Terry McAuliffe get it? Certainly Green Tech Auto didn't get it because it's still the same half-empty factory that it's always been. So, anyway, this is what Mr. Kahn is up to his hips in, and this is why he took down his website. Mr. Kahn is a con. He's a plant. You know, and the funny thing is, they always are. Whenever the Democrats haul somebody up onto a podium where they can use them for their political purposes, it's very rarely do they find somebody who's real. And the only thing real about Kahn is that he's a Gold Star father. That's the only real part of it. The rest of it is all shinola. It's truly amazing. Remember Joe Septak or Septic or whatever his name was? That was a total fraud against Romney. And then there's Harry Reid lying about Romney's tax returns and then bragging about the lie. Well, he didn't win, did he? And then we had the lady that picked up the cans by the side of the road while Al Gore was vice president. Yeah, she had to pick up cans by the side of the road because, or wait a minute, this might have been 2000. I forget exactly what year it was, but they trotted her up, and she didn't have universal health care. And so in order to pay for her prescription, she had to walk up and down the road. And I forget where it was. Was it Missouri? And collect cans, aluminum cans, and trade them in so she could buy her prescriptions, of course. And she turns out to be a union hack. I mean, it's again and again and again. None of them are ever real. There's nothing real. The Democrat Party is all astroturf.